One Russell Dobular took his iPhone down to the courthouse here in Lower Manhattan to take in the scenery at the Donald Trump arraignment. So you take it away, and we got some video we're going to play.
Okay, so I went down there, and they basically separated the MAGA people from the lock 'em up people. So, you know, it was pretty peaceful. It wasn't anything crazy. But I was very curious what would happen if I asked people if they thought George Bush should be arrested, people of all political stripes. And what I found very quickly, I can't say to my surprise, although the vehemence I got was surprising. The libs went crazy when I asked that question. They went completely batshit. And when I asked conservatives, when I asked pro-Trump people that question, it ranged from yes to no, and I'm going to talk to you about why. Nobody went crazy.
Once again, this is, should George Bush be prosecuted next? Right.
Right. Should George Bush be prosecuted? So I think this video, and I'll have a lot to say about it as we go, it demonstrates everything that we've said on this show over the years. It demonstrates everything that this show has been about. We cannot work with these people. We need to distance ourselves from these people. We need to scream from the rooftops. They're not with us. We didn't come to the party with them. They're not with us. They're not with us. So and you'll see why as we go. So do you think he'll be found guilty?
If justice is served, he sure will be. For this and all the other crimes that he's accused of.
So do you think we should arrest George Bush next?
Why? What is about this? What's this whataboutism? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, but should we? I mean, if we're going to hold people accountable.
You know better than that?
You don't think we should?
I'm not going to be baited by you. I don't care what you think.
Okay, so you don't think we should arrest George Bush for war crimes?
Once you arrest George W. Bush,
yeah, that's right.
Okay. What do you think? Do you feel that he should be arrested?
If a grand jury of average New Yorkers indicts him, then he should be arrested.
Exactly.
Well, you know, Michelle Obama called her partner in crime.
Oh, you're going after a black woman now, of course, because you're clearly a white supremacist.
So do you think that's why?
So you have to demonize a black woman trying to get a point of pride.
So if you criticize Candace Owens, you're a white supremacist?
In your audience.
What if you criticize Candace Owens?
Is universally respected, whereas Candace Owens is a pathetic sister.
Right. What if you This is what happens. Ask these people questions. They cannot answer. Well, this is a public place. I can do whatever I want.
I'm just going to ask you to take a step back.
Well, you have no right to do that.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
You're in my space, and I'm going to ask you.
You're in my space. I'm not in your space.
Get out of our space.
I asked if we should arrest George Bush. They went crazy. I guess they like George Bush.
All right, let me just pause this for a second. You realize how just like non-hostile the question was, and immediately,
they went berserk.
Berserk. Nuts. Yeah,
they went berserk. Like
you didn't ask
berserk.
It's not like you had a MAGA hat on and you were there to troll them, or that you posed the question in a trolling way,
or even that I asked, should they arrest Obama? Like you still shouldn't act like a demented 3-year-old, but you could. That's baiting. Right? Like clearly they're liberal people, Democrats, right? It should be so easy. Yes.
Right. That's
it. Of course. Instead, they qualify it. Well, if a grand jury finds him and that he's George Bush, just say yes.
Right. We don't know anything.
It's that simple.
We don't know anything. So we'll defer to a grand jury because we know absolutely nothing of what we're talking about. We have no real reason why we're here.
That's what they kept coming back to. Well, if a grand jury indicts him, they could not simply say, yes, George Bush is guilty of war crimes and he should be arrested. And yet they felt passionately enough about Donald Trump getting arrested for payoffs to a porn star that they
Right,
dragged
exactly.
a banner down to the courthouse and they're standing out there ringing cowbells like an
Right.
idiot over that. But you ask them, well, should George Bush be arrested? Well, he danced with Ellen, so no.
Right. Exactly.
Michelle Obama likes him, so no. And if you mention Michelle Obama, you're a white supremacist. Are you guys Republicans? Are you Republicans? Like, why do you not want to arrest George Bush? You know what? That sounds smarter than you do. So, do you think we should arrest George Bush? No answers on that. You don't know if we should arrest George Bush?
That's like a
You're not
Coen
sure?
Brothers character.
Michelle Obama called him her partner in crime. I think she was saying, let's arrest him. Are we arresting George Bush next? I hope so. He's guilty of war crimes. Do we care about that?
Do you feel George Bush is guilty of war crimes?
Hang on. All right. So she's a MAGA person, and I don't in any way want to be deceptive. Like, look, she was nice. We had a nice conversation. She's a birther. We're gonna drop the unedited versions of this, so you'll see for yourself what the whole conversation was. But I want to be clear. Like, I don't agree with her on a lot of things. We were talking about, she believed in birtherism and all of this kind of stuff. But she also believed that all of these people should be locked up. The Clintons, the Bushes, and the whole system is too corrupt to be redeemed, and we should start over again. So who can you deal with? This woman who doesn't freak out when I tell her I came out of the Bernie movement, as you'll see later. She didn't go nuts. She didn't pull out a cowbell. She didn't lose her mind when I told her I came out of the Bernie movement. She didn't lose her shit. So look, if you're going to try to persuade people, you can't persuade people you can't talk to. This woman, maybe you can't persuade her, but it's possible. Those people across the street, you might as well try to persuade a Scientologist. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with people in a cult. You're dealing with very damaged people with severe emotional problems. And that's why they're attracted to a movement and an ideology that emphasizes safe spaces and personal truth, because they don't have the confidence and they don't have the emotional stability to function in the world like adult human beings.
You feel George Bush is guilty of war crimes?
Possibly, yeah. Actually, yeah.
What about Dick Cheney?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you think we should arrest George Bush?
George Bush.
Yes! Yes!
Hey, I agree that's not a hard question, but I've had some people who have a very hard time with that
If
question.
George Bush committed a crime, yes, absolutely.
All right.
Whether he committed, anybody who commits a crime in the U.S. should be arrested and prosecuted. Now, whether he committed a crime or not, I don't know. I haven't heard, but I'm sure you're probably going to tell me he committed a crime somewhere in Mars. Maybe he took a light up there.
The part of Mars they call Iraq, maybe.
He committed a crime in Mars.
Do you feel that George Bush should also be arrested? Hang on. No. All right. So they're Trump supporters. There's an earlier part of this where I did get them saying that they don't think that, Donald Trump should have been arrested. So, yeah, this is the Trump side of the park. They basically divided Collect Pond Park across the street from the courthouse. It's a MAGA and
Blue Maga.
And Blue Maga, exactly. Yeah. Red Maga and Blue Maga. And that's exactly how it felt. But I wanted to show this because later on, you're going to see I have another encounter with psycho Blue Maga people. And I want you to see, I didn't softball it with the conservatives. I talked to them the same way that I talked to the liberals, but they didn't lose their shit. They kept talking to me, even though I was challenging what they were saying. I wasn't challenging what they were saying in a dick way. I was having a political conversation. And I will tell you something else. And you can see some of that in the other footage that we put out. You know what was happening on the MAGA side? And I'm not saying ideologically, I agree with them on some things, not on other things. There was a lot of conversation going on. there were a lot of people standing there debating charter schools versus public schools. And on the other side, there is no conversation. On the lib side, there was no conversation, because how can you have a conversation when everybody's supposed to agree on everything? If you do have a thought that might be original, you'd be afraid to express it, right? Maybe you get cast out.
Right, exactly.
So there's no talking. There's only emoting. That's
right.
It. There's emoting, but there's no talking.
Exactly. All right, here we go.
Also be arrested.
No.
Why?
Why should he do anything?
Well, you don't feel he committed war crimes in Iraq?
Doesn't mean he should be arrested.
You don't think people should be arrested for war crimes?
He didn't commit what war crimes?
Ordering torture, that's a war crime.
He did not order any torture.
Well, he did, though. I mean, we know that they tortured people in Iraq and he signed off.
How do you know that?
I mean, that's a matter of record. That's not even a matter of debate.
Show it to us.
What's that?
Show it to us.
I mean, you have the Googles, right? You can go on the Googles. I mean, it's not like we know. We have the pictures of the people being tortured in Iraq. Like, it's not even a question.
Maybe they should go look at every single thing Obama did and try to arrest him also.
Well, hey, I wouldn't argue with that.
Maybe we should go, every single person here, they should war crimes aren't interrogate right here, every single person, and maybe try to arrest them.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think most people here have committed war crimes, do you?
Maybe yesterday someone here was speeding, we have to go give them a ticket. I think the cops right now should check every single speed camera in New York City and try to find every single person.
So would you compare ordering torture in a war zone to speeding?
No, but the point is that we're not here to look out for people. If someone does something, especially a former president should try to arrest a former president.
Do you feel that George Bush should be arrested?
George Bush? I don't give a fuck. We're here today celebrating. It's not about who else should be fucking arrested. Apparently, our system of justice has attempted in some way to hold someone accountable for crimes they believe they have evidence for. So let's let the system work. If everybody thinks it works so fucking well, let's see if it works.
So let me...
This is some kind of weird thought experiment you're doing with an agenda.
See, right here, starts to lose her shit.
Yeah.
I'm not... Okay, so...
You're not entitled to our time.
All right, so let me just tell you something. The only... I'm actually on the left, but the only people I've asked this question who reacted this way were people on the liberal side. Nobody else I've asked this question has reacted this way.
You seen the light now? You're away from Bernie yet? Or you're still a socialist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist. I don't know if he is at this point.
Yeah, there we go.
But on the other side there, I asked them one question. I asked them if they thought George Bush should be arrested. And now they're the left over there on the other side.
Right,
I asked
the ones
them
that said lock
I
them.
asked them the same question I asked you. They went crazy. They were bringing cowbells. They're blowing bullhorns.
Because they're insane.
Look at this. Look at this. So do you feel this is good for the left to be presenting themselves this way? Well, yes, but they're protesting too, and they didn't behave that way. I asked them if they thought George Bush should be arrested. That's what triggered this. And it's the second time today that I got this from people presenting themselves as being on the left. So something I often say on my show, which is a left show, this is not good for us. We need to distance the left from these people and explain we're not with them.
So, there you have it. There you have it. The MAGA people, you know, and that guy, the blonde guy, he was willing to have a conversation.
He talked to you for a little while,
we talked for a long time, actually. And, you know, he said to me at one point, he was like, well, why don't you go over there? I said, I spent most of my time over there. I just came over here. And nobody over there acted like this. Nobody. And he was like, yeah, but they're saying their stuff. I said, yeah, that's why I'm not one of them. But you can talk to them. They don't behave this way. They don't lose their shit on a question that theoretically should be, if you're supposed to be liberal, you should be able to knock that one right out of the park. That's an easy one. Right?
Of course. It's not even a gotcha question. It's not even a controversial question.
Right. They lose it because they are so brainwashed by the media that they consume. Like George Bush now is on their side, right? That's how they see him. He dances with Ellen. Michelle gives him a hug, and so he's one of them. So as soon as you say that, it's a challenge to them. Now, this is what I want to point out finally before we really get into this discussion. So we've covered a couple of worker actions over the time that we've done this show. And let's take a look at the crowds there. Let's take a look at the crowds. And,
so this is a compilation of, or I should say a combination, really, because it's of two different events. The railroad worker event outside Grand Central Station, and then the Whitney Museum.
The Whitney Museum. All right, so first,
the Whitney Museum
is going to be the Grand
protest.
Central. All right, so let's take a look.
Yep.
Let's take a look. All right, so who do you not see there? Who do you not see there? Do you see any of those fucking people there? Do you see any people who look like those people there? Do you see any people with those kinds of banners there? They're so into justice. They want justice. They're not here for these people. When you see these railroad workers having a demonstration, you don't see any of those fucking people show up to support them.
With the cowbells and the horns.
So maybe you might be saying, well, they seem more artsy. They seem more like artistic people. Do you see them here? This is the Whitney. These are the workers at the Whitney Museum striking for fair wages. Look at the crowd. Do you see any of those motherfuckers? Anyone who looks like they come from that school of thought? Do you see any of them out there to support workers? They don't give a fuck about workers. They are out there to virtue signal. They are completely brain damaged from the media that they consume. They are very deeply emotionally troubled people, and we cannot allow them to hijack the name leftist. They are not leftists. If they were, you'd see them at these things, and I might have half an ounce of respect for them. I might have half an ounce of respect for them if you saw them at things like this, but you never will. You never will. That's not the last video I'm going to do. Now I got blood in my teeth, man. When I go out at these events, now I'm going to ask them, have you ever gone to a strike? Have you ever supported a union? Do you know Chris Smalls is? Do you know who that is? How do you feel about the Amazon workers? I'm going to start going out and asking these liberals at the kinds of things that attracts them those questions. This is part of our problem as a left movement. We have allowed these people to jump in front of the cameras and represent themselves as us. They are not us. They are not left. They're not even really liberal. They are basically right-wingers who don't hate gay people and are for abortion rights. Other than that, they are fundamentally right-wingers. And in many respects, they're much further to the right than what we call right-wingers. Because one of the most common things that I got from these MAGA people when I asked them, why do you support Donald Trump? Or why do you feel he shouldn't be in jail? Or why do you support him? Have you ever seen him did he start any wars? He didn't start any wars. As soon as Biden got in there, we're in war in Ukraine. So who's on the left? Who's on the right? Definitely not those people. They're not on the left. They're not any left that I recognize. And their behavior is so disgusting. It is so off-putting. You cannot overstate how damaging it is to any left movement to not make it clear in the public mind, these are not the left. We don't know who they are, but they're not with us.
Please clap.